Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to what's been an electrifying season, and today we're shining the spotlight on a player who's been nothing short of sensational, Richard Chin.
Absolutely, Mike. Chin's performance this season has been a revelation. His speed, his agility, it's like he's redefining the fullback position. And it's not just about the goals, Mike. His ability to read the game, to find spaces where others can't. That assist last week, pure vision.
Indeed, what's impressive is his consistency. It's one thing to have a breakout game, but Chin's been delivering week in, week out, a real asset to his team.
No doubt about that. His work ethic is phenomenal. First to arrive, last to leave. That's the kind of dedication that inspires a team.
And the fans, they absolutely love him. Chin's connection with the crowd, his ability to energise the stands, is just phenomenal.
Certainly, Mike. Richard Chin, a name we'll be hearing a lot more of, I'm sure. A rising star in the world of football.
Ladies and gents, welcome back to the How to Become a Pro Footballer podcast, episode 112. Today we got a special guest, Richard Chin. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for making the trip. Yeah, so if you can just get into it, where you're from, your position, where you're currently playing, and I want to get a bit into your journey.
Yeah, so my name's Richard Chin. I'm currently playing for Charlton Athletic Football Club, and this month I've gone on loan to Dartford, which is a local team in the Conference South. It's the second tier of non-league football in England. And yeah, I've been at Charlton since I was 6 years old. Gone up through the academy. Had a lot of involvement last year in the cup games and played in the first team a little bit, and then I went on loan towards the end of the season. Had a few small injuries this year. And I've recently been able to go and play for Malaysia national team on the 23s.
Oh, nice.
So it's been a lot of ups and downs, but hopefully a very good end of second half of the season.
Yeah. What position you play?
So for the first team I played more fullback.
Okay.
When I was younger I played centre midfield, and when I went into 23s I played more wing back.
Okay.
And now I'm on loan, I'm playing right midfield in the 4-4-2. So
Nice.
yeah, I've moved around quite a lot recently.
What's your favorite position?
Probably, at the moment, wing back or right midfield.
Yeah.
I enjoy that, getting up and down.
Yeah.
Quite effective on the wide area, so I quite enjoy that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, probably wing back, full back, or right midfield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nowadays, a lot of central midfielders get transitioned to fullback.
Yeah.
And I think I was the same way. You have much more time on the ball. You're already face up. So I think it's a good position for central midfielders. As long as you obviously possess the qualities that can be effective as a fullback. So yeah, man. When did you start playing the game? How did you get into it? Did you have any specific players you were inspired by?
So I started playing football just as a kid. I can't really remember when I first kicked the ball, with my dad on holiday when I was maybe 3.
Yeah.
I remember kicking the ball on the beach, loosely. And then my mum took me to the Charlton Athletic community trust thing, just at a leisure centre. So I played there, when you get the certificate for the badges.
Yeah.
And then I played Sunday League football, and by the time I was 6 I had been scouted for Charlton. We had a mini tournament with the local Sunday teams. I think there were 2 people in the age group before me. Mm-hmm. And then they looked at obviously the best kids, and then I trained with Charlton since I was 6. Mm-hmm. And worked my way up from there. As a kid growing up, the one player I looked up to the most was Steven Gerrard.
Okay, yeah.
Because my dad supported Liverpool and I supported Liverpool as well, and just watching him, he's just unbelievable, carrying the team. Yeah. And at the time with him and Torres. Yeah. But I wanted to be a centre midfielder and play like him, So that was probably the main player that I looked up to. Uh-huh. And just played for Charlton. So it was a professional environment quite early on, and took it easy, trained 3 to 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. And as I obviously moved up the ladder at Charlton, I started to take it more seriously when I was around 14, 15, I'd say.
And is the Charlton ground near where you live?
Yeah, so it's like 10-15 minutes
Okay.
from my house. When I was 9, I had the choice between signing for Charlton or Crystal Palace. And at the time, they were like both in the Championship, both like similar training grounds, similar facilities, but Crystal Palace was like 45 minutes, Charlton was 10 minutes. And yeah, I just decided to sign for Charlton.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, obviously, for listeners around the world, I mean, obviously, the English system is probably one of the best in the world, at least, top 3. So these academies, they scout players, are they going to Sunday league tournaments? Are they going to like, non-league games? Trying to scout players like quite early?
I think so. Like certainly the Sunday tournaments, there's somewhere called the Marathon Ground in, I don't remember where it is, but that Greenwich really, like quite close to Charlton, but all of the teams in London would go and play there. There'd be like 10 football pitches, and obviously like it'd be a tournament for everyone in that age group. So there'd be like 30, 40 Sunday league teams all around that area of London would go there, and then obviously there'd be kids that stood out and were just really good. There'd be obviously parents there, scouts watching, and from there people would get scouted to like all of the London teams.
Wow. And what do you think, made you stand out as a player?
When I was younger, I didn't really think about it. I could obviously dribble, score goals. I was quite athletic, so I could run around. I just played football, so I didn't really ask the scouts what they liked. I just kind of went along with it, went into Charlton, and from there, just enjoyed playing football. To be fair, they actually moved me to right back when I was like under 9, so I was playing more right midfield, 7-a-side, and they put me at the back. And then after like 2-3 years, I was like, I don't want to play at the back anymore. And then I moved over forwards and played centre midfield. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So how's the Charlton system run? Do they have a school specific to the academy, or how was that set up when you signed for them?
So you start from 6 to 9. You're not really signed. So I played for Sunday teams as well as Charlton. I just went to Charlton, trained. I remember we went up to like Birmingham. We had a tournament in Warsaw. So we travelled the country and you play for them a little bit, and then when you get to 9, they can decide whether they want to sign you or not. From that point on, you then train 2 or 3 times a week and you play on the weekend against Chelsea, Arsenal, all of the other academies in London. And then when you get to around, I think, 13, 14, Charlton did do a school. So they have a partner school, I think Harris Academy. So they did offer me to go to that school, and then you can have day release, which means that you spend, I don't know, 50% of your time at school or 70% of your time at school, and you're allowed out in the afternoons to train. So they pick out of maybe 15, 16 people in the squad of that age group, they pick maybe the best 6, 8 people that they think have the best chance of making it professional, and then they select those people to go to the school. So I was offered, but I said no because I went to grammar school and my dad's Asian, so there was quite a big onus on me to do well at school, and because I was at a good school, he didn't want to take me out and put me into a non-grammar school. He wanted me to take my education seriously. So I said no to that. And then when you're 16, you have the choice of, if you're good enough again, becoming a scholar. So a scholarship means that you don't need to do like A levels or full-time education, and you end up doing the BTEC, which is like part-time education and football. So again, you're basically a full-time footballer. They give you a scholarship wage, and you can play full-time. And again, after a long story in the summer with a lot of different things that went on, I ended up saying no to that, and I stayed at my school.
So you didn't take the scholar?
Yeah, I didn't take the scholarship.
When were you offered that? 16?
Well, I was offered the scholarship when I was younger, about 14.
Yeah, okay.
But generally, most people offered at 16.
Yeah.
But I waited all the way for those 2 years. I hadn't signed anything, and then when it came to turning 16 and having to make a choice, I ended up going back to my school and studying my A levels. And thankfully, at that point, my school were actually really helpful. I did 3 A levels, maths, economics, and chemistry, but I only had 1 maths lesson a week, and that was a 1-to-1. I was basically tutored, so that allowed me half of the time in the week to go and play football. So I ended up only missing 1 day of the scholarship program, and every other day I was there for training. So I was able to do both full time, which was quite full on.
Yeah, tough schedule, huh?
Yeah.
So what was your schedule at that age? Because a lot of young footballers, I mean, I think obviously one of the most important ages is that 12, 13, 14 gap, because one quote that I always love to refer to is, Sturridge said, like, 14 to 17 are the key years for a footballer, because all the distractions come around, the girls, the going out, the drinking. So like if you have the ability to like focus and really dial in to your discipline and have that goal of becoming a pro, you can really advance. So what was like a daily schedule there?
From what age, 14 or when I was like 16?
Let's say 14. When you really, actually let's go back. Like, when did you know that you could be a professional? Like, when did you have that knowledge?
It's hard to say. I remember in year 7. So that when I'm in year 7, for people that aren't in England, that's I think 11. So when you're 12, 13, like I do remember, like I was at Charlton. I'd been at Charlton my whole life. I was like chilling. Like I was obviously good at football, playing for Kent, school football as well. So I was playing a lot because there was like school football, county football, as well as Charlton. So I was having like games in the week, games at the weekend, training 3 times a week. But like I wasn't taking it like that seriously. Like obviously I'm in the environment, so the environment kind of did it for me. But I do remember like there'd be a Friday, I'd come home from school, do my homework, and then just sit on the PS4 and play like Call of Duty for like 5 hours. And then in the summer, my dad would like have a go at me and say I didn't do enough extra stuff. But I was still playing football like 5 times a week. And then I think when it got to about 13, 14, and I could see like the scholarship, like you've been offered the scholarship, and then you start to have your eye on actually thinking, well, I want to be a professional now. Because you kind of just take each year as it comes when you're so young. Like when you're 9, professional football is so far away that you just think, okay, I'm going to enjoy this year, take every game seriously, and just don't think too far. So I'd say probably around 14, I thought, like, I want to be a footballer and I want to kind of do everything I can to do it. So, I mean, even then, because I had school, for me it was really just school, and then from what I can remember, football afterwards, because my school team were really good. We have quite a lot of academy players, and 2 people are playing in the championship now. 1 player's at Charlton with me, and 1 player's had a scholarship in America. So our school team was really strong, and we went, I think when I was 14, the whole year unbeaten. And we won the National Cup, we won all of the local cups. So we had a match every single, basically 2 matches a week, like in school time, Tuesday, Thursday, even in the afternoon, evening. So I had school football, I played for my county, we won the National Cup for my county. And then obviously Charlton, I was training 3 times a week at Charlton, playing on the weekend and a Saturday. So I was playing so much football and I was doing so much school that like my schedule was basically go to school, and then after I finish school, play football. And if I've just played a game, I might have one day where I don't do as much, but then I'm doing schoolwork, I'm doing homework. So I'm trying to like get ready for my GCSEs. So like that was all there really was to my life. I'd say when COVID hit, I think I was around 16, 17. That's when the extra work started to go in terms of like waking up early to play football before school. And that's where I went into another gear in terms of professionalism and like, actually, okay, I want to do this. Now I need to put in the work to do that. When I was around 16, that's when I thought, no, now I know this is exactly what I want to do. But some stuff in that summer didn't go right. There was obviously ups and downs, and I had a bit of rejection. So that gave me a lot of hunger and motivation to work really hard during the COVID period. So I was just in football or school through the whole period. I mean, so and then after that I came out, turned professional, and since then I've just been focusing on football and myself.
So obviously I'd love to dive into that rejection, because obviously tons of footballers get it, we feel it, So obviously, you came out of that on top, and obviously, like you said in the beginning, there's tons of highs and lows in football. It's an emotional roller coaster. So when did you first face that rejection? Because obviously, 6, you were recognized by Charlton, spent the whole time in the academy. Then you said, you didn't really take it too seriously maybe until you felt that rejection, and maybe that helped you out. Or
I'd say in terms of being serious, when I started to be offered a scholarship, because like there were other clubs that were interested in me, that's where and I was obviously doing very well at that time, standing out in my age group, playing out with the older age groups. That's when I started to take it seriously. Before, like, I didn't have any like necessary rejection or anything. Then I'd say, well, there were times, for example, I think when I was younger, I could have moved to. My dad was like, "Yeah, do you want to go to like Spurs?" And I didn't want to go to Spurs because it was like too far.
Yeah.
And I was happy and I was enjoying my football at Charlton.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want to leave. And then my dad was like, "Oh, well, if you don't go to Spurs, like, you've got to make sure you put the work in. Like, you need to work harder now."
Yeah.
And then I just like, I wouldn't say I didn't work hard, but I wasn't like football every day. I was just a child. So then, like, when we go on holiday, my dad would like have a go at me, and then.
When did he say? How old were you when he said?
So this should have been like, I don't know. I'm not sure if that happened maybe like 1 or 2 times when I was younger. So maybe like when I was like 10.
Okay.
10, 12. So I was really young. Yeah.
Age,
And then when he got to 16, because there was interest to leave, and then I wasn't sure whether I was going to be staying at Charlton or not, and I wasn't sure what my schoolwork would be, because I wasn't offered a professional contract at Charlton. There was a chance where if I was offered a professional contract, a better team might have been able to afford tuition for me, because A-levels education was a really big thing. So my dad wanted to give me the best football opportunity, but also the best academic opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So the number one plan in my head was to obviously play football and do school.
Yeah.
Ideally, getting paid to do so would be the best thing, and at the highest level. So I thought I was going to be going down to the training ground, and then they just didn't call back. Like, they said, yeah, we really want you. You know, like, we're happy. Come down to the training ground. We'll sort it out next week. Yeah. Came to Monday. They said this on like Saturday. Yeah. There was an FA Cup game, and they were like, yeah. They just didn't pick up the phone after that.
Wow.
I had that, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I ended up deciding to go on trial. So I was still signed at Charlton, and for people that aren't aware, if you're in academy football in England, you can't just leave your team. You have to have compensation. So I went on trial to Fulham for a week, and they said like they liked me, but they probably need to see a bit more of me. And then I went to Arsenal on trial, and I actually was only there for 2 days. Like, it was such a short time, because they said, yeah, you can go away. I think they were going to like Bulgaria in pre-season. And the second day I didn't train great, but like I literally just got in the building, and they were like, yeah, like, we're not going to sign you. So I literally just turned up there, trained twice, and then they were like, yeah, no, like, it's a no, basically. I ended up going back to Fulham, and I went to pre-season with them in Portugal, done the 23 camp,
How
and
old were you at
18.
this time?
So at this time I would have been 16.
Okay.
So I went to Portugal with them, spent a week with them in pre-season, and to be fair, like, I actually preferred the setup and how the atmosphere was at Fulham to Arsenal anyway.
Wow,
and I know I'd only been there.
That?
Just how the boys were. It was a really strong Fulham group. The coaches were good, and it just felt like, even though they were on obviously a bigger club, the setup there just felt more, I don't know how to explain it. It felt a lot more friendly and like positive energy. Yeah, like it just felt like it would have been a better club for my development.
That's interesting.
But Harvey Elliott left the season before, and that age group ended up winning the PL2, and they were at the top of the leagues. And one of them went to Arsenal, ended up moving, and that they've been a very strong under 18s and under 23s. Like, they produced a lot of players since when I was there. So it was a very strong setup. Yeah. And I like that. And then after I went to Portugal, and they said, like, we like you as a player, but we can't guarantee you're going to play for our first team. So they were like, we're not going to be prepared to pay the fee that's involved. They just said the fee is too much. So after they said no, like, and I'd obviously gone on trial, I felt that if I was going to go and leave Charlton, it was probably going to be to Fulham, like, having gone there. So there were obviously other clubs that I could have gone and trial to, but at that point, like, I thought about it, and I thought that, like, I want to go back and play for Charlton, because obviously part of my decision was educationally as well. Yeah. And then I got my GCSE results, which were really good. Yeah. So the school were happy to see me, and I went into the school, and they were so happy with my results, and obviously they know that I work hard on obviously my football, and they made me an offer that they're like, yeah, come back to the school, we'll tutor you, we'll make the programme suit you. And it was like an offer that was like way too good to turn down.
So the school paid?
They didn't pay me, but they just basically made the programme work around me.
Okay.
So they just said, yeah, like, we'll be really flexible to allow you to play football as much as you need to play football.
That's interesting.
So I had to sacrifice the scholarship wage.
Yeah.
So I was still living at home, and I didn't get paid a wage. Like all of the other boys in my age, obviously, were being paid. It wasn't a lot, but it's still money in the bank account, and I wasn't paid. And I was working hard educationally as well as the football. But once they made that offer, I ate my humble pie. Like said to Charlton, I want to come back because I wanted to go back, and they obviously had to accept me back because they wanted money for me, so they couldn't say like no. And then so I did my scholarship at Charlton, or schoolboy, and then after turning pro, it was a good weight off my shoulders, like having been able to let go from the education side and just focus on football.
100%. Yeah, great story. So I want to dive back to, because that's interesting. You know, you compared, you know, the environment of Arsenal compared to Fulham, and I'm sure everyone watching would think that the environment also would be that much better because they're a bigger club. Yeah. But I think obviously it's, you know, with everything, like you got to choose that environment that you think you can grow in. Yeah. So how was the environment? Like, why do you think it was? What would you describe the difference in the players and like the vibe in the Arsenal compared to?
I was only there for obviously 2 days. I wasn't there a lot, but from what I just felt was not necessarily like the coaching stuff or the facilities, but more just like the boys, the changing room, and like sometimes you can't put your word in it, but you go into somewhere and you just get that feeling. And I just had that feeling more at Fulham that it was the right place for me to develop, but I obviously ended up not going there.
So how was that pre-season? How was that tour in Portugal?
It was good. Like training, we played a friendly, obviously hot weather, and a different group of boys. So because I'd been at Charlton for so long and I'd been obviously very comfortable in my school football, I actually think I took a lot from that 2-week experience. You know, like playing with different boys, going into different environment, training with different people, seeing how different coaches do it. So even though I only had maybe like 3 weeks of not being at Charlton, I feel like I had a lot of experiences within that 3 weeks 100%. Where I'd been at Charlton for so long. And it gave me so much more motivation to crack on and get my head down for the next 2 years to make sure I got a professional contract and didn't let that affect me on my career.
Interesting. And how does that work, you know, for people who aren't familiar with the English system? Like, how does that work? You know, you said you were a scholar and then you ended up signing the pro contract. So how does that path work?
So if you are obviously really good, you can sign a professional contract when you're 17. So there are some boys that when they're 16, they're offered a scholarship and 1 year scholarship, and then they're offered a professional contract from 17. If the club don't rate you as highly, you're offered a 2-year scholarship and you turn pro when you're 18 if they want to give you a contract. So the best boys essentially are on a professional contract when they're 17, and then the boys that obviously the club aren't sure about, they will offer you a professional contract or release you from after you finish the scholarship, which is at 18. That's how that works.
Interesting. Yeah, because obviously I'm familiar, you know, playing in the U.S. and playing around the world. You know, I've seen a lot of like, you know, English players who've been in the system, you know, been on scholarship, and then the club releases them. And I think obviously that's a very tough like mental period. So did you feel how old were you when you first signed that pro contract? And did, like you said, you had a weight off the shoulders, but did you also feel like a sense of security?
Well, because I was 18, and obviously you get a short term, it's a couple of years, your professional contract, and in my head, as soon as you finish school, like now the goal is to play in the first team, so you immediately set new targets, and you have to really like obviously get after trying to get in the first team, and it's so competitive football, and trying to play at the highest level. I wouldn't say like I felt a level of comfort, but being full time and being able to play football every day and just think about that was probably like one of the best things. And like every day you obviously have to be very grateful for the opportunities that you have, and that's certainly one of the like biggest privileges I've been able to do.
100%. Yeah, like you said, I mean, I think a lot of people think like once you sign your first pro contract, it's over, but it's actually just the beginning. It's just it's a milestone, and like you said, it's your chance to actually focus on full-time football. So how did that first year go?
So I played for the under-23 team when I was the scholarship age. When I was on my schoolboy contract, I was injured for maybe like 6 months in the first year, so I didn't really get enough momentum in my career to like move up to the 23s when the next year. Yeah. So I had to go back. I played the whole season as an under 18. I was captain of that team, and we ended up winning the league. But I got injured right at the end of the season, like just from a tackle. I did my ankle, and then I was out for 3 months. So I like worked very hard. I was back like basically on schedule just a little bit before, and then that's when I kind of got moved around because there was no defenders. They were all injured, so like I came back playing fullback. And then we ended up playing 3-5-2 the whole year. They were like, okay, we're going to get you back in midfield. And I ended up playing wing back. I played well then, and they just left me there for the rest of the year. Nice. But I learned a lot about just educationally football. The coaches there at the time, Ant and Sens, they were like top level coaches, and I was learning a lot. So just training every day with under 23 sides. Yeah. I made my debut, I think, in November in the Papa John's Trophy, which is a smaller cup. Like it's a smaller cup where teams will rotate their teams, and there'll be some under 21 teams from the Cat 1 teams like Chelsea, Arsenal will play in that competition. But I made my debut away to Leighton Orient, and there was 800 Charlton fans there. Wow. And they were like really loud. And it was just like, that was probably one of the best experiences of my life up until that point. And it just gave me so much more hunger to like get into the first team. Yeah. So that whole year was just practicing, playing, and that was about it.
And how old were you when you made that debut?
So I would have been, I think I was 19. 19. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so let's take us back also to the injury, because obviously, you know, was that one of your first, like, let's say, major injuries or...
The ankle? Yeah. Well, my hip was like, because I was younger, they didn't really want to scan me. So I was just out for like, I don't know, 3-4 months. But every week they'd be like, yeah, maybe next week you'll be out running. And there's one of them ones where they were just like, yeah, maybe next week. And then every week was next week. And they didn't really want to like sort it out. So that was frustrating because of like, I didn't really know what I'd done, and it was a lot of back and forth, you know, like coming in, going out, going back in. That settled down. Then my ankle was my first like actual one where I'd been scanned, and it was like more than a month. Properly out. But I also thought there was a lot more like clarity there because I had the scan and I knew it's 12 weeks. Just break the 12 weeks up into like 3-4 week periods, and after I knew this is how I get back, it's very easy for me to just get my head down and think, well, I know what I need to do. 100%. So I had that clarity 100%. And just followed the plan, and everything went like according to plan. No,
because what I was going to ask you following up is, but you answered it well, like how do you deal mentally with an injury, you know, and I think what you said is huge. It's like you got to break it down, break the whole macro thing down into small cycles, and then, you know, have a proper plan so you have clarity, so there's no, you know, confusion of what to do.
Having said that, my A-levels were, my exams for school was at the time when I did it. So the first 4 weeks, obviously, my ankle was in a boot, my foot was in a boot, so I couldn't do anything, and I also had exams. So it was very easy for me. I didn't have any time to feel sorry for myself about like, oh, I'm injured now. So I had exams, so it was just 4 weeks of revising for my exams, do my exams, and by the time I finished my exams, I was out of the boot, and then it's like starting to walk again, starting to run, keep it moving, doing all of the stuff to make my ankle good, and then like I didn't have any time. Now, obviously, when stuff happens and you're full time, I think you just have to sit with emotion sometimes. And the best thing you can do when you're like disappointed is just like nothing. Like for a day, for a night, like you're disappointed, but you don't follow that disappointment up with another poor decision of like going out or doing things that you shouldn't be doing.
Class, bro,
And then, you know, like a day passes, you get over it. And then you find a little bit of light in terms of when you know what's happened. And then you can just get on with it.
That's so well said, because I think that the toughest thing that we deal with as humans is being able to sit with the emotions. You know, so if you could actually sit with the emotions, and that's why obviously we'll get into some of your routines, but, you know, stuff like breath work, meditation, other stuff to get your your mind off of what's going on
Yeah.
is so useful. And like you said, it's so well said. Like that's a big reason why a lot of people get into the drinking, get into the drugs, because it takes us away from the emotion.
Yeah.
So if you have the ability to really sit with that emotion and actually embrace what happened, which is, it's so much easier said than done.
Yeah.
It really can help you out, because like you said, like you have, let's say, one bad thing going on in your life, but then if you make another bad decision,
Yeah.
it can make it even worse. So how do you, now, at your age and, being so young and being able to have that insight is huge, but how do you sit with those emotions?
Well, I think when I turned professional and then I decided that I didn't want to go to university, I didn't really have any form of life, or like I hadn't had any time to myself.
Yeah.
So I hadn't really thought about anything other than football or school. So for that first year, I remember looking into a lot of like different philosophy, like Stoicism,
Nice.
Taoism,
Nice.
and a few Buddhism, and just basically consuming loads of content. I remember listening a lot to like Jordan Peterson and
Love
other
that.
psychologists.
Yeah.
Just in terms of how to think, how to act on YouTube. I'd listen to it a lot in the morning, a lot in the evening when I'm eating,
Love
and just consuming it like every day,
Yeah.
day after day after day after day, repetition, like getting into my subconscious. And from that point, and also I think setting boundaries is really good. Like I've made a decision that, for example, I know that I don't want to drink until I finish playing football, or
So you don't drink at all?
Yeah, because it's
Wow.
in my mind that I don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like not an option.
Nice.
So there's other things that I obviously don't want to do, and because I don't have that as an option in my brain, it just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because the moment like you let the
Yeah.
like something out of the can, like it's very hard to put it back in.
Yeah.
So that's what I've decided to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the easiest thing for me to do, because it's very like difficult to like balance stuff once you've already started doing stuff that isn't great. So for me, I know what I want to do. I know if it's not good for me, then I don't want to do it because of my goals and not having any regrets when I finish playing football.
Love that.
So I think when you have a vision behind it and you stick with it, I think that's the best way to mitigate poor
100%.
choices.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think it's like, if you have the ability to set those standards and boundaries, and I think the most important thing is to surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
And when you set those boundaries and those standards, you don't have the people asking you to constantly go out and party because you don't drink. Yeah, maybe you'll go out, have a water or something like that. But I think it's huge to set those. And with that being said, obviously we have, my audience is primarily, young men. So any advice you have, because Peterson is a huge mentor, for myself and a lot of other young men. But I think nowadays, like a lot of young men are lost, you know what I mean? Like, so, obviously you studied, Stoicism, Taoism, Buddhism, Peterson, anything you recommend for like books or lectures for people to watch?
Well, I was speaking about this with a friend yesterday that I hadn't seen from school.
Yeah.
But I think specific ones, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Certainly I liked the 48 Laws of Power and Robert Greene's books on human nature.
Yeah.
Those books were really good. Think and Grow Rich. I read that 6 weeks before I ended up breaking into the first team last year.
Wow.
And I went to bed every night doing what they said in the book, saying that I'm going to get into the first team by the end of pre-season.
Wow.
And I got into the first team the last week of pre-season.
Wow.
And it looked like I hadn't been training with them, I hadn't been doing anything with them, but I thought, no, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, my chance came. I played 2 games in 2 days.
Wow.
My hip was a bit tight. I had a bit of a niggle, but I'd obviously done all of the Think and Grow Rich stuff, and I was like, no, this is my time. I knew this was my time. I could feel it was my time. I knew it was my time. And then I took the chance.
Wow.
And so that book, just from that experience, and since then I've not really used the practices as much. But that book definitely has been really good for me.
Sure.
So for me, I think COVID really helped because there was no ability to socialise. So because I had so much time to myself and just train, play football, but also just be at home, be by myself, learn, and have a lot of time to myself, that was where I think I was able to go on YouTube, because I was quite curious just to see who's saying what, who's got good advice out there.
Yeah.
So if anyone that's watching, I'd just say that it's good to follow your curiosity and what engages you. But as long as you feel like you're learning, and you might not agree with 100% of what everyone says, but if you can take 80% of what they're saying is good, or 70%, and you think, okay, that can help me in my life, then that's where I started. And I just went onto YouTube and consumed loads of content. And obviously, once you've heard someone speak for maybe like 3-4 months of that, you pivot and you go into a different topic.
Yeah.
And then you find something else that you don't know that you're learning online. And that's the method of approach I took. And recently, obviously, as your schedule gets a lot busier, it's a lot harder to spend that amount of time doing or looking into all of those topics. Now that I'm a bit older and I've got other engagements and priorities, but it's still good to do that when I get a few hours of free time.
100%. Yeah, and I think, you know, what I heard there is like the open-mindedness to learn and improve yourself. I think that's huge. And yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, you know, just being able to dive into yourself and having the ability, I think what a lot of us have lost is having the ability to be alone. Because we always have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have these instant hits of dopamine. And if we have the ability to resist that and delay that gratification and pick up a book or watch YouTube videos, I think that's the biggest thing, you know.
100%.
Yeah, I think the distractions are what kill us, you know.
I'd also argue, and this is something I've done recently, but when you understand like the algorithms of TikTok or Instagram, that generally like what you see more of.
That's true.
And for people obviously my age and younger, we've grown up on social media to the point now where even though I know, like, for example, I only want to go on Instagram once a day, and there's been periods where I followed that really strictly, but there's been obviously times where if I'm messaging someone on Instagram to set something up, then I'm on the app a lot more because I'm using it practically.
100%.
But then you get sucked into like looking at one story or one post, and it's still one thing. So what I've realised is that one of the things you can do to mitigate those distractions is turn them into productive uses of your time. For example, like now I try to, when I'm on Instagram or Snapchat and, you know, like I accidentally swipe to the stories, instead of seeing like all of the rubbish content that's wasting my time. It might be a bit funny, but it's not helping me get where I want to go. I just like loads of football videos, see something like educational comes up, I like that, interact with that. Not because I really want to interact with it, because I know that if I interact with it, then more will come. So then I've got to the point now where if I go on like Snapchat stories by accident, my hand just like swiping, then at least I'm watching football now. So I see like, I don't know, 30 seconds of football, 40 seconds of someone striking the ball, how they're striking it, what's their technique like. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going on to whatever I need to go to. So using the like platforms as a tool for your development as opposed to a distraction, I think is really helpful, especially for people that are just so used to using social media. I think that's a really good call, and hasn't been mentioned, you know. I haven't seen it mentioned a lot. I mean, obviously it's, like you said, social media has its ups and downs. You could either go down the right path or the wrong path. So I think, that's a very, very interesting way to view it. And I think, like you said, you know, interacting with the things that you care about and that are going to get you on the right path to your goals is huge, you know, and you know, stopping the liking of the OnlyFans models and stuff like that is probably important, you know. Not interested on Twitter.
Exactly. So man, you know, take us back, you know, 19 debut with the first team. How did things look from there?
So I made my debut with the first team, and after that I went back to the 23s because it was like one of the cup competitions. I finished the whole year training with and playing games for them, the 23 sides. And I think I did have like, I went into the tackle and I did a ligament in my knee. Maybe like 5 weeks. So it wasn't too long. And then obviously off season, I can't remember what I did in that off season, but it would have been a lot of practice. I think there was still a travel restriction, so I don't think I actually went abroad at all. I think I just stayed, recovered from my knee injury, and then just focused on pre-season. And going into pre-season, that was when I just had my eye on obviously getting into the first team. I did the pre-season with the 23s, on the 21s. And initially, like, I thought, okay, I need to get into the first team. The first team were going away to Spain, I think like Marbella, for pre-season camp. And I thought, okay, like, I'm going to go to the first team, and then I'm going to be able to show how good I am, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
First day, they're like, these are the names that go in the first team. There's 3 people. My name wasn't on that board. So from day one, half the under-21s are disappointed that they're not going to the first team. Because everyone wants to get into the first team and show that they're capable and they can get there. And only 3 people were, like, decided to go. So I spent the first 4 or 5 weeks with the under-21s grafting in pre-season, and then I played some of the games, and thankfully I was given an opportunity to play for the first team.
Wow.
And yeah, just took the opportunity, and from there I was involved with them.
Nice. And how old were you when you got that chance?
So that was 19 turning 20.
Okay.
So I turned 20 in October.
Okay.
So I would have been 19 at the start when I was first involved with the first team.
Nice. And how did that experience change? Like what's the difference between under 23s and the first team?
A lot. I think like you've got so much adrenaline, or I had so much adrenaline coming to the first team. Like I think the first 3-4 games I got booked every game. In like the first 5 minutes I wanted to go and put a tackle in, and you have so much energy. But yeah, like men's football, the intensity when the crowd are there and you want to run, obviously you want to run for yourself, but you've got the crowd cheering you on. Every single drill is like 10 times more in terms of like, you don't want to let your man beat you. If you get past the man, they're going to grab you, they're going to try and pull you, they're going to use your body. Like there's nothing really is given to you easy in men's football. Yeah. Like nothing. Whereas in academy football, if you do like a quiff turn and like you just go past the person, they don't really care. Like they'll just like, they won't bother grabbing you or making it really hard. But in first team football, everything's like a lot harder. So the intensity, even though you don't run as much, the intensity of the actions, I think, are definitely a lot more intense. So, and yeah, playing in front of crowds, playing in a higher opposition, more experienced opposition, people that have been in the league and played, like 300, 400 games, they have a lot more experience in the really small aspects of football that you wouldn't really expect. And I think when you're younger and you watch League 2 or League 1, you kind of think like, you don't appreciate the experience that those players have, and they've like to fork out a career and play 300, 400 games at any level as a professional. Like they've had to do a lot, and they've had to understand a lot of things about football in order to like negotiate a career like that. Yeah. So it definitely gave me a lot more respect and appreciation for everyone that's had a career in the game.
100%. So what are some of those small details that you notice? Obviously, like you said, it's different, watching on TV or watching from the sidelines rather than being on the pitch. So what are some of those like small details you noticed that you picked up on?
Like the positioning, body shape, when there's crosses in, like getting contact really early. So if they know the ball's going to be likely to at back post, like the centre back or full back might grab you or stand exactly in the place where it means that you just can't run in terms of like just a simple 1-2, getting blocked straight away. Like they're not even interested in the ball. So like certain defenders won't actually look at the ball, that you'll pass it. In academy football, most people just turn their back, they don't look at the ball, and then you just run past them and it's fine, easy 1-2. But if they can sit in their way, they'll just run in your line straight away from the off. So they just block you. And just little things like that, which make it a lot more like you've got to be a lot cleverer and sharper with how you move in order to get past people and create opportunities.
100%. So who was your first game against?
Well, in pre-season I played against Welling, which was a non-league team in Conference South, and then I played against Swansea the next day at the Valley. Came on for like 20-30 minutes, and then after that I played in the cup competitions like the Carabao Cup. I think I didn't come on in the first game against QPR, and I came on, and then I played against Walsall. We went on a quite a good run that year. We played against, I think, Stevenage. Then we had Brighton. We beat Brighton on penalties. And then we went to Old Trafford and played Man United. But I was on the bench. I didn't come in the upcoming on, but I started in the Brighton game and played the whole game. So
who was the best team you ever played against?
Well, probably that Brighton, because last year Brighton were unbelievable.
Who were you playing against?
I was in the first half. I was up against Cisco. And then in the second half, Matoma came on. Like straight after the World Cup. Straight after the World Cup, that was their first game back. So.
With that being said, who's the best player you ever played against?
Probably Matoma. From like
different
ways
level
and his career. so sharp. Like
Yeah.
he was a little bit smaller than me. I was surprised at like the height of the Brighton team overall.
Yeah.
Because when you watch people on TV, everyone just looks bigger. But when you're like up against them, they're obviously like they had some tall people, but
Yeah.
a lot of the players who are forwards weren't really that big, but they're just so technical, so sharp, and just like unbelievable.
So what was your approach playing against Matoma?
Well, I'd watched a little bit of the World Cup, but like to be fair, we played in about 5, so I was able to kind of like cheat a little bit, show him down the line, but I had good cover inside from Dubbo, who's like one of the more senior players at our club. So I was able to like edge a bit to the line, like keep a good distance and just get low and ready. And if you wanted to go inside, then there were loads of bodies inside to deal with it. So yeah, we sat quite deep, and I was able to do it with a lot of help around me, but also defending him as well.
Yeah. So would that be, obviously your advice for any defenders, marking like top level wingers, push them to your help? Like, how would you recommend, any fullbacks, wingbacks to defend tough
I'm not
tricky
sure.
wingers?
It's a fine line because I think the first time I went up against him, like I showed him line, and then he took the line, and he was just so quick.
Yeah.
So like I kind of recovered it, and I think he might have just crossed it, and the cross got blocked.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I can't show him that much line because he'll just touch it and cross.
Yeah.
So every time you get into a duel with every different player, like you have to keep adjusting, like per interaction.
Yeah.
Just to find the right distance, and it depends what shape your team are playing. If you're in a low block and there's people around you, and you can make use of that, or if you're exposed and it's a 2v1 situation.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different things to consider.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think it is really just
Basic.
having the reflection. Like you got the basics of 1v1 defending and the
yeah.
situation, and each time you have to defend, you just make small adjustments to correct like tiny. So like in the game, you're like adjusting, reflecting on what's just happened. So you're just constantly refining your strategy to
100%.
defend.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, man. So take us. What was this the 21-22 season?
This was last season.
Okay. And then how did last season go and lead us up to now?
So last season, after like the Brighton game, I played maybe like once or twice for the first team around the Christmas schedule. The manager actually ended up getting sacked in I think like November, December time. So then there was interim, there was a manager, and then I ended up just being on the fringes of the first team, like being on the bench here and there. I played against Oxford in the league, like I think Boxing Day, and then like I headed the ball and I had an issue with my eyes, so like I just like my vision was like blurry and stuff. So I was out for like maybe like a week with that, and I was like touch and go for the United game, and then I think I went on the bench for that. So I had another like small injury where like someone just like some centre back, I was playing for 21s, and some centre back just stood on my like shin or ankle, and it just completely like swelled up. So that was like I think 6 weeks, and it was actually one of the most painful things that I've had.
Really?
And then
He stood on it.
yeah, just like I went to cross and he like slid in or whatever, and he just stood on my leg and
Jeez.
yeah.
Did you get a red?
No, like
Wow.
nothing. To be fair, I didn't even notice, and I just looked down half time, my ankle was just like a balloon.
Yeah.
So that was like maybe like 4 weeks. And then by that time they'd signed, a lot of people would have been injured, and they'd kind of panicked and signed people for the first team. So we had like loads of players,
Yeah.
and not all of them even played that came on loan. And then I ended up going on loan for 6 weeks at the end of the season to Dartford, which is where I'm at now. At the time, I think they were second in the league, and because I wasn't playing the first team, it was just a really good experience to go out on loan, play men's football. Like, I was probably quietly surprised about how actually like the level of our team, and it was a really good experience to play, particularly in the playoff game, because we finished second. But for people that don't know, the conference itself, only the top team gets promoted, and then it's a playoff between the second and seventh teams. The second and third get a bye to the semi-final straight away, and we beat the team we played like 3 weeks before. That was my best game for Dartford.
Wow.
I think I got man of the match in that game previously, so I was like, we were quite confident going into it that like we have a good chance, but they were a good team, and we had to really like grind out that performance before, and we were 1-0 up. I got like kneed in the back, and my back just seized up, so I came off after like 10 minutes, but we were 1-0 up.
Yeah.
So I was like, hopefully we can just hold on, and maybe I'll be ready for they ended up scoring, but we had about 6-7 good chances. We were like much better on the day, and we ended up losing on penalties.
Damn.
And we finished, I think, 15 points
Wow.
from second to third. So we were like second by quite a long distance. And then, that was the season done. Lost on penalties. And off season, recovered, went away. And then came back for pre-season, and been a lot of, like, this season I've had like 3 injuries on and off. It's been all in a similar area. And the first time I think I rushed back. The second time my knee got stuck in a pitch. Like, I went to slide in, and the pitch, like, instead of sliding, my knee went in, and like it was like dry, and it like divoted, and it sent my hip back. So like it just basically irritated the area that I'd been out with. Yeah. So that's just part of football, I guess. And then I've got back now, sorted out, and I went to Malaysia twice last month. So I'd really like to play for their national team, and we've been able to sort the paperwork out for that. Nice. So I trained with their under 23 team in the last international break, and we had a friendly. And then I came back, went on loan, played last week, scored my first goal in men's football, which I was quite happy with.
What kind of goal?
High inside and left foot, just like curled it into far corner. So it was good. And that was actually, I came back on the Wednesday, and I went on loan on the Friday evening. So I hadn't actually trained with the side, but because I'd been there the previous year, the manager trusted me to go straight in. So we didn't actually have a game last week, and I played basically having not trained with the side, and was able to obviously play well, help the team win, and that's again an experience that I'll always remember. So it's weird how in football, if when you get opportunities and you have a chance to play, playing obviously at a young age is really important, and if you miss those opportunities, you just miss those moments. And obviously in your career you want to create as many good moments and memories as possible when you finish playing football. 100%. So,
so how was that experience in Malaysia? First time you went over and trained with the national team?
Yeah, the under 23s.
Okay.
So my paperwork only got sorted out halfway through the international break. So I think the first day, I didn't want to do anything in the day because I just wanted to chill, because it's obviously a lot more humid, getting to know the boys. Some of them can speak quite good English. Some of them, their English is less
you speak
articulate. Malay, no. I'm learning now. I've learned before. When I was learning on the app and on the book, the tutor that I have now, she said that the Malay there is too formal. And when I went and actually listened to them speaking Malay with each other, I didn't understand the word they were saying. Because a lot of the words are shortened.
That's what you sent me a message about this morning, Malay.
So, because they shorten all their words, it took me 5 days. How you say no, or how I thought you said no was Tidak. So, Tidak. So that's how I thought people say no. And it took me 3-4 days. I didn't hear anyone say Tidak. Wow. And I heard them say Tat. And it took me 5 days to work out that meant no.
Hard language?
I think it's quite easy when you get the gist of what they're saying. So that's when, after that experience, and obviously if I'm playing with the team, I want to be able to speak to everyone on the team and articulate 100%. Exactly on the pitch what I want from them and what they want from me. So that's when I decided I need to be able to speak Malay, not just understand the formal Malay. So now I just decided to get a tutor immediately, because I don't want to waste time. So it was really good. It was a different experience. Obviously the style and the intensity of it was completely different in the humidity, because you make 2 sprints. Now when in England, you can just run and you don't overheat. But there, if you make 2 sprints, you do feel you've been in a sauna for 10 to 15 minutes. Wow. So it is a different experience, but it was really good.
And how's the level there overall?
It was good. It was under 23 side. The pitch we were on was it was different to England. I didn't understand what they meant, because in the picture it was fine, and then it's the jungle grass. So it was a bit a little bit bubbly, and that affected the boys. But I thought the technical standard was really good, and I thought I was quite impressed with the standard.
Nice. So yeah, take us to now. So basically, are you? How long is your contract now with Charlton?
So my contract is until the end of the season.
Okay.
And I'm on loan initially for a month.
Okay.
And there's obviously the transfer window in January.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really, I'm just focusing on making the most out of my loan at Dartford, playing. We've got a game this weekend on Saturday.
Nice.
Taking each game as it comes.
Exactly.
And just seeing where the season goes from now, really. I don't really, I have an agent, and I let my agent take care of the future stuff. So, yeah, I think from everything I've experienced in football, and also, speaking to other boys and people that have been in football, and just life and business, it's only, something's only done when it's done. Your contract's you're only gone to the club once you've signed the contract, and everything's been confirmed.
Yeah.
So before that point, there's no point really, talking about, I don't know, what's interested, where you're going to go, all of that stuff. That will take care of itself. You either will go or you won't go. I've obviously spoken to my agent about it, but he lets me know what he's thinking and stuff. But for me, it's very simple, just to focus on football, focus on improving, control what I can control.
100%, yeah.
The stuff that is going to help me and benefit me, and then leaving all of that to be resolved by itself. Obviously keeping an eye on it, but it's not something I wake up and think about anymore.
100%.
What's going to happen. I just plan my day, think about what I need to do in the day, and then go to bed knowing that I've done everything I needed to do today.
100%, bro. I love that. And yeah, like you said, just in football is a business, and nothing's confirmed until it's on paper.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what you said about controlling what you can control is the biggest advice I've always given. So, and obviously you seem very disciplined and you have your standards. Can you walk us through a day in your life, a typical day in your life? What time you wake up, breakfast, what you eat for breakfast, just give the listeners, an idea.
So I'd say before with COVID and certainly at the start of last year, definitely my schedule was really rigid. As in I'd plan my day from the start to the finish.
Yeah.
And the time I wake up, I'd have a morning routine, and then all of that stuff, evening routine.
What was your morning routine?
So a year ago, it would have been wake up in the summer when I was in England. So this would have been not last summer, the summer before, because I was traveling way too much in the summer. Yeah. But last summer, I would have been especially in COVID time, it would have been to wake up for sunrise. So sunrise in England in summer does get to I think maybe 4:45.
Wow.
So there was a period where I'd wake up, watch the sunrise, meditate, read Think and Grow Rich at that point, and then I'd play football. Just wake up. I've gone up to the field. I've done a walk, drunk water. Yeah. Meditate, watch the sunrise, bring my balls up, walk up to the field, it's a 2-minute walk from where I live, and then I play football from 6 to 8, go back, have breakfast. If I want to play football again, play football from 11 to 1, have lunch, and then if that's me done for the day, then I'd maybe do some schoolwork or just get on with my day, enjoy my day. When I wasn't, obviously when I'd finished school, maybe educate myself on different topics, see family, see my girlfriend, do stuff like that, and then just chill. And then in the evening I'd want to have a shower, reflect, plan the next day, and maybe
pretty
read.
Dialed, man.
Yeah, so that's what it would have been, but because I've been traveling so much, and I've had a few living arrangements that have been a bit uncertain.
Yeah, that's
so
tough.
Because I've had that uncertainty, I've had to not dial it down, and I've been quite busy. So now it's a bit more fluid in the sense that if I've had a late game and I know I've got stuff to do in the morning, I might only have a 5-minute meditation when I wake up. And now we're in the winter, there's no sunrise, it's cloudy. Yeah. I'll just wake up at 7. If I know it's going to be a cloudy day, I might wake up at 7:30 and do 10 minutes, just maybe meditate in the morning. But I need to be more strict with that, and then do a few things. But I've shortened my morning routine maybe down to 30 minutes max, have breakfast and get on with my day. Yeah. And in the evening, just reflection. At the moment, I'm really reading just religious texts, educate myself on that.
Nice.
So they're the only real things that I do. I don't really reflect on my day too much. I will plan my days when I know I need to plan it.
Yeah.
But when the schedule's done for you, like when I'm with the Malaysia under 23s or at Charlton, the program's basically done for me. And I used to do like 15-minute yoga in the evenings as well.
Mm-hmm.
But since coming out of lockdown, I found it a lot better to do like actual yoga classes
Yeah.
at my gym.
Nice.
So when I can, maybe like 2 or 3 times a week, I'll go there in the evenings and do that for an hour, which means that I don't really have to, because I've done an hour maybe 3 times a week. We do 1 hour at Charlton. I've done like 4 hours a week. I don't feel like I need to really like cram it in the evening. Like I can just go to sleep or do what I need to do and then sleep without having to think, okay, I need to do yoga
100%.
before I sleep.
Yeah. So how has yoga and meditation helped your game?
I think meditation, when I was, I think 18, I hadn't really meditated before. So it was a big change for me, just meditating for 10, 20 minutes a day. And when I obviously started out, it was a religious meditate, like has to be 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
No excuse.
Were you using an app or?
No,
Okay.
just time on my phone and meditate.
Nice.
But yeah, I think just being able to emotionally detach from situations without mentally like not caring about what's happening.
Yeah.
You still have to like care about what's happening, but just not getting emotional about it, letting thoughts go, and understanding that like your thoughts and everything is temporary in terms of how you're feeling in moments. And yeah, I'd say definitely it's helped, but like anything, you know, when you're on the pitch and you make a mistake, something happens, you're still not fighting, but it's still frustrating. And being able to keep a neutral and an even kill on the pitch is like still a very hard skill.
100%.
That just comes also with time and experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely helped, and it's definitely helped me navigate like the stuff that I've had off the field, like everyone has, and just be more centered. And then now, obviously, I feel like with the yoga practices, they are quite meditative in the sense that you are there for an hour, and you're just in a position, like stretching a little bit, but then you've got a lot of time with your thoughts and your breath. So
100%.
it becomes like by default, like you get thoughts in your head, and then you just let the thought go, and then you bring yourself back present with like the yoga lesson or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So like now I've done it obviously for a longer period of time. I don't meditate as much as maybe I should do, but I feel like I get it throughout my day in different places now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I think it's that type of stuff is like so underrated, because I think like as footballers we're just taught to go, do the explosive stuff, do the strength stuff. But I think once you could tune into the breath, into the present moment and the mind, you know, I was talking yesterday with Jack Harrison, like, you know, can you find the calm in the chaos?
Yeah.
You know, because football is so chaotic, and you and me both know the most important thing is decision making. You know, so if you can find, you know, like a sense of stillness and calm during a match, your decisions will be better, which will result in a better performance.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think with that, it's almost like being in that mental state as much in the day as possible. Yeah. In like any and all areas of your life. Yeah. You know, like when something little that comes up that like frustrates you in your house. Yeah. Or just with whatever you've got going on in your life, like keeping that mentality for every single area of your day means that like by the time you get to the football pitch, you know, like when people say like match prep or match day -1 prep. It, like obviously it is important, but when you make your whole life tailored to football, or just like good practices and good habits, then like you're basically ready to play every day regardless. 100%, So by the time it gets to actually like match day, like my match day like schedule is not any different to a normal schedule, other than like it will obviously be lighter physically, and I'll try not to think about the game too much before, just to make sure mentally I've got all of the energy for the game if it's an evening game. But other than that, like everything else is just like food I eat's the same like the day before. Everything else is the same. So
it's that mindset of, you know, every day is game day. Yeah. Love it, brother. Thanks so much for taking the time. I think it's been great conversation. What would be, just to finish off, your top 3 pieces of advice for footballers listening, you know, to sign their first pro contract, just based off of everything you've learned?
Probably number 1 would be like you have to enjoy putting the work in. Yeah. I think you're going to come up with a lot of challenges and you're going to have to make sacrifices, which at the time, like, you obviously don't want to do, but you have to enjoy putting in the work and enjoy, like, just grafting and sacrificing, because when you learn to enjoy that, after that, it means that you love doing the hard stuff. And when you love doing the hard stuff, all of the other moments that come with it, and, like, for example, the opportunities to sign a professional contract, like, that's obviously, you're going to be happy with that. But if you can love to, like, do the hard things and also, like, practice the fundamentals, which sounds really boring, because even when I was younger at the academy, people would say to me, like, just practice the fundamentals.
Yeah, basics.
I don't want to practice basics. Like, I see Steven Gerrard, like, playing in the top corner, and all I wanted to see when I was in the playground would be just playing in the top corner.
Yeah.
But especially when you move to the professional level, like, you understand that the basics, you end up doing it 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So it's fundamental, and it's basic. But the more you repeat it and the more you master the basics, the better opportunity you give yourself. So that'd be number one. Yeah. Number two, I think that'd be everything, to be honest. I don't really have the 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds good, man.
I think that's it.
Last question before we end off. If you could go back to yourself at any age with the knowledge you have today, what age would you go back to, and what would you tell yourself as a mentor to yourself?
I'm not really sure about that one.
Nah.
I think, like, everything in life is, like, designed how it is. I think all of the experience, even when I said, like, I'd come home from school and play on the PS4, obviously I could go back and tell myself, like, get off the PS4 now and play football, but then I wouldn't have that experience in my head now, and I might not necessarily have the hunger. Yeah. If I could literally just go back myself and tell myself, like, hey, look, you're going to be a professional footballer. And make the most of it. One of the things that I thought about, I'd go back to, like, when I was, like, 6, and I'd just, like, break down football, like, crossing, finishing, watch the techniques.
But don't you think, like you said, like, if you go back to that age, like, you could almost get burnt out?
Yeah, you probably could. But like, if I was gonna do that, I'd probably like just go back and tell my 6-year-old self, like, just practice everything, so you're gonna be world class by the time you're 18, technically. For sure. And hopefully the physical stuff can take care of itself. But like, that's quite, like, you never know, like, you could end up getting injured or just how life pans out. But no, I'd go back and tell my 6-year-old, like, look at everything. Take it systematically. Probably even when you're playing with weaker opposition, I think sometimes work on your weaknesses instead of working on your strengths. Because I just played, and I was quite physical, so I could just run past people. When I look back now, that period probably meant that I didn't develop technically as much, and because I was because I was quicker than people and I could run, I could dribble. It was very easy for me to go past someone, so I didn't necessarily have to refine the skill or, like, play off one touch and check my shoulders all the time, because I knew I could take a touch, they'd come and I'd just knock it past them. But because I relied on that, probably meant that I was, like, undeveloped technically, which I've obviously worked very hard to do in the last 2-3 years. So I'd just say, if I was, like, 6, like, work on your technique as much as possible.
For sure. Master the basics.
Yeah.
And one last question before we go. You know, you said you have a girlfriend, and I get this question all the time. Like, do you think a girlfriend is a distraction? Like, and, you know, you and me both know you can either find a girl who, you know, brings you up or brings you down. So how do you find, you know, obviously it's not easy, you know, but how do you know if you found the right girl, or how do you find the right girl for you to push you towards your goals? Because obviously, you know, you have a very strict routine, rigid routine. So it's kind of, you know, it might be tough for some girls to understand that.
I think for me, it's always been about, in my head, I know what I want to do and where I want to go. So it's just been as simple as me understanding what I want to do and how I want to be, how I want to live my life. Obviously, as I've got older, I've developed and changed. And everyone changes with time. But just making sure that my number one priorities are football, and then just by default, either, like, it's good for you because it's helping you achieve your goals and you're happy, and it's giving you a level of, like, peace and, like, restoration emotionally, like, you know, you can just go and chill, no problems. And if you don't have that, like, if you don't feel like it's a net positive, then it's, like, very simple, like, it's just, you need to make a different choice.
100%.
So
100%. Yeah.
Just having that goal I think, for me.
Yeah, and that's with girls
So,
and friends. You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's always been like, you know, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and you're either gonna be with me on the journey or you're not. And it's that simple. Like, either they're aligned with your goals or they're not. And if they, for example, if your girl like holds you back from doing the right things and the right habits and influences you to the negative habits and the negative things, then like you said, you gotta cut it off and move on.
Yeah, I'd say it's that simple.
Yeah. Sounds good, brother. Appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for the time. Good luck with everything.
Thank you for having me.